I have never played Oblivion in my life, but I've heard that it's better than Skyrim, so what better way to enjoy the remaster for the first time than to do a difficult challenge? Can you beat Oblivion Remastered without taking any damage? Upon starting the game, I instantly failed the challenge by taking mental damage from how bad my computer butchers the game's graphics. If you haven't put it together already, my computer sucks, and I had to install a mod that removes the game's ray traced lighting for it to run somewhat okay. I'm sorry that the game looks like shit, alright? Anyways, the only option for this kind of run is a ranged or a magic build, so I chose Dark Elf and made him absolutely gorgeous. Old Fragile Fuck here will be the one to go on this nightmarish adventure for us. I then set my health to 1 with a console command so that any damage will kill me, and then I ran into an immediate problem. My health regenerates when I'm not in combat, which would make doing this challenge even less bearable. I had to look up online and then copy and paste this gobbledygook into the game file so that my health won't regenerate anymore. After enduring this other Dark Elf's taunts that was going to cuck me, I was freed from my cell by the Emperor himself, who I then tried to thank by cremating him, but that didn't quite work out. Escaping through the tunnels was pretty straightforward. I found a bow and used the boring tactic of sniping everyone while sneaking with some fireballs here and there. In the midst of this, I noticed something kind of annoying. The thing I did to disable health regeneration didn't quite work. I was still regenerating health, but it was during combat and it was just very, very slow. This meant that I had to keep an eye on my health and reduce it back to 1 whenever it increases. This also meant that I was capable of taking damage sometimes, but that just meant I had to reload a save when I did, so it isn't much of an issue. Later on, I protected the Emperor from assassins, only for me to try to assassinate him once more, only for them to not be as forgiving this time. After I got briefly scared by an assassin, the Emperor finally got the knife. If only I got to do that. Fresh off of watching a murder, I finally got to create my class. Despite me mostly using a bow so far, I decided to spec mostly into magic, cause magic is cool, okay? With the Fragile Fuckery class created, I continued my escape alone and finally reached the beautiful open world. Who am I kidding, my computer makes this look like shit. Instead of immediately continuing the main questline, I took a not so brief detour into a cave. Inside, I faced my first real challenge in fighting imps, who killed me a lot since they also used magic, which is one of my many weaknesses. This cave, however, led to bumblefuck nowhere, but at least I found a cool throne. All hail old Fragile Fuck. After some fireball shenanigans, I decided to continue with the main questline. On the road, I found this magic rock thing that gave me a cool magic dagger, which, while neat, wasn't really helpful at all. I then stopped by a nearby city, where I spent way too long being absolutely bewildered by Oblivion's persuasion minigame. I am still not 100% sure how this shit works. Soon after, this she-ogre bitch signed her death warrant when she told me to piss off. I murdered her, but now a nearby guard isn't happy with me. He uttered the famous phrase and accused me of stealing of all things, and not the murder that just happened in front of him. He died, and it turned out that whole ordeal was a brilliant strategic move, as I now had that she-ogre bitch's horse. I quickly rode to the next step in the story's questline, and once I arrived, bid my horse goodbye as it slid away. I then showed some old guy the magic amulet the Emperor gave me and asked what to do next. Oh yeah, the Emperor gave me his amulet before he died. I don't think I mentioned that yet. I think the whole game revolves around it. Anyways, I was told to find some guy named Martin, who's supposed to be the next Emperor. Martin is a strangely ordinary name for a fantasy setting, but whatever, I don't judge. Bitch. To get to the next location, I decided to steal another horse, which turned out to be completely unnecessary as my previous horse didn't get very far. It may have taken a while to learn I could have fast traveled this whole time. Instead of finding Martin, I found a literal gate to hell and a fireball to the face, but let's not talk about that. Inside of hell, also known as Oblivion, I got to enjoy such activities such as being bonked on the head by a plant of all things, and fireball dueling with the local creatures. It was at this point that I began to rely on my bow, as my fireball is pathetically weak, which I guess isn't too surprising since I started the game with it. After spending an hour in hell, I closed the gate and finally found Martin. I also tried to get a prayer from the gods, but they really don't like me for some reason. The fuck did I even do? Even by my standards, this playthrough has been pretty tame. Ignoring that, I then brought Martin back to the old guy, but this dumb fuck wasn't careful and it got stolen. But hey, at least Martin was then made the new emperor. This guy is super dead. I was also invited to join the Blades, who are in charge of protecting the emperor, something that I have a very terrible track record in. I was then sent to find a book or something that would somehow lead to the cult that stole the amulet, but one of them was already pre-ordered by some guy. I kept trying to assassinate him to get the book, but it turned out talking to him was the easy way. Who would have thought? I then killed some sewer cult guys for the final book, and God knows how this leads to their base. A Sith Lord then appeared and told me how much he enjoyed my murder of that she-ogre bitch a while back, and invited me to join the Dark Brotherhood. All I had to do was kill some guy, and I get to join their family. I positively jumped at this opportunity, so you bet I sent an arrow through that guy and joined the Dark Brotherhood. When I reached them, I knew I had made the right choice. It truly feels like I'm among family, and everyone is so nice. How can anybody here be evil, huh? Except this pussy fuck. My very first target was some pirate captain, and I kited him around a table as if we were some sort of cartoon. On him, he had the Holy Bible, the lusty Argonian maid. I am never getting rid of this. I ended up getting a bit sidetracked murdering for the Dark Brotherhood, but all of that killing really put a smile on old fragile fuck's face. Remember that dark elf at the very start of the video who said he'd cuck me? Well, he's a target too! Thank you, Dark Brotherhood, I love petty revenge! Little fucker. I killed so many people that I was promoted to Eliminator, but I realized I was a bit spoiled with all this murdering by now, so I thought it was time to get back to the main story. Somehow, those books I got led me straight to the cult's cave of operations, where they tried to induct me into their ways. They wanted me to fork over all of my possessions, including the lusty Argonian maid. That was never happening. This, of course, meant that I had to fight the entire cult, which ended up being a giant pain in my ass, with that stupid brazier there also being the bane of my existence. I watched as the dude who stole the amulet disappear into the Shadow Realm, and I ended up freeing some lizard man they held hostage. This turned out to be a huge mistake, as this ruined any chance of me getting sneak attacks on the remaining cult guys. And the lizard man didn't even survive. Let this be a lesson, everyone. Never help hostages. This playthrough so far hasn't been that difficult, but this cave was even more hellish than Oblivion itself. These guys killed me so many goddamn times. After over an hour of this purgatory, I was finally out of there. Next up, well, not really next, cause I've been skipping over the boring parts, I had to get some Daedric artifact, or something like that. To talk to the Daedra in the first place, I had to kill a wisp as a sacrifice, and let me tell you that this was one of the most annoying things I've ever had to do in this playthrough. The only way I can kill these things is through magic, and if you've been paying any attention, my magic is complete trash. Then, I had to kill some vampires, who were laughably out of my league until I went and bought this magic staff that easily obliterated them. I probably should have done this sooner. With the artifact now collected, I had to again jump into an Oblivion gate in order to close it to save some town. You guys had enough of me going to hell yet? No? Well, too bad, we now have to close a gate for every town in the game in order to progress one of the story quests. I can now see where Fallout 4's Minutemen questline came from. In one gate, I had to rescue some Count's son, who was kind of a bitch. I may have murdered him on accident, but in my defense, he's a bit of a bastard and ran into my arrow. And hey, it's only murder if someone knows about it, so I killed his mate too, guys. No witnesses. Unfortunately, his dad knew I murdered him somehow and refused to reward me. It just works, everyone. Unfortunately, I was stupid and didn't save before I murdered the dude, which meant I had to do the entire thing over again and make sure this piece of fucking shit son survived. God fucking damn it. I closed gate after gate after gate after gate. Can someone free me from this hell? This Oblivion?
Say that again?
After hours of this nightmare, I was finally able to move on to grave robbing the first Emperor's armor for Martin. I had to summon 4 Blade Spirit Ashes to get this armor, and I have to say, it looks better on old fragile fuck than it ever will on Martin. Anyways, it's time for another fetch quest to get some magic rock or some shit that they tried to scare me by saying some undead king guarded it. I got the stone without a hitch, and I can say the exact same for the king. For the final item, Martin says we need the cult guys to open gates to hell so I can grab another special rock in Oblivion. Yup, all roads lead to Oblivion, I suppose. He assembled a Diet Coke version of the Avengers Endgame's army, and I sat back and let them do all the work for once till I finally Leroy Jenkins into Oblivion. Inside, I had to race against the clock to get to the sigil stone, or else their spooky hell death machine will go through and destroy the world or something like that. With the stone obtained, I celebrated my victory, but someone there was a very sore loser. With all the infinity knickknacks collected, Martin opened a portal so I can retrieve the amulet and entered paradise. Well, according to this dude, it isn't. This demon man challenged me to a duel, which I won by cowardly peppering him with arrows, but it seems God himself is sick of my shit and crashed the game. Finally, it was time to face the cult crayon master himself, who can reflect my magic right back at me. What fun. This of course meant it was arrowing time, which went rather well, if you ignore all of my deaths. With the cult man dead and the amulet retrieved, all is well. Except it isn't. The moment I got sniped immediately after a cutscene, I knew things weren't looking good. The city was under attack, and the Prince of Destruction himself has arrived to stop me into jelly. Fun fact, Martin can actually die at this part, one of which may have been my fault. Now that everything has gone to shit, what does Martin do? He kills himself! Except he also turns into an awesome dragon, flies around, and sends Goro from Mortal Kombat back to hell, saving the day. I guess they didn't really need me after all. And with that, I beat Oblivion Remastered without taking any damage. Hooray. Hope y'all enjoyed my first Oblivion playthrough. Feel free to leave a suggestion on a challenge video you'd like to see, because I'm stupid and completely out of ideas. It doesn't even have to be Oblivion either. It could be Fallout, Skyrim, Starfield, Fuamoko Adventure, you name it, as long as I have the game and it doesn't make me bash my head in. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you sometime this century. Bye bye!